Hey homesteaders, gardeners, and cooks. My name is Jennifer. Welcome to Miles Away Farm, or welcome back. Today I have for you the long-awaited recipe for cider apple caramels. And I had hoped to get this out before Christmas because it does make a nice Christmas present, but you know, best laid plans. But here it is after Christmas, and this is a great recipe for year-round, really, honestly. And so I used my canned apple cider in this that I showed you a video on back in September, October. And I like to put this caramel in a small container rather than have it be individual cubes. This recipe is originally from Smitten Kitchen, and I think she has you individually wrap the squares. My experience with that, and it could be that I just don't cook it quite long enough, is that they don't hold their shape super well and they are wildly sticky. And so it's very hard to find a wrapper that they don't end up sticking to, and that square cube that you get just kind of slowly loses its shape over the course of a couple of days, and you end up with a blob. And so I like to just put this into little 4-ounce mason jars instead. This does need to be refrigerated because it has cream and dairy in it, but this is absolutely delicious. It is definitely one of my very favorite caramels. Really lovely on an apple slice. So, you know, caramel apple slices with apple in the caramel sauce. So good. So here you go. Cider apple caramels. Let's get started.
So I'm starting out with a quart of home canned apple cider. And when I say cider, I just mean unfiltered apple juice. This is not hard cider. And I'm pouring out everything except for the little bit of sediment that's in the bottom here. It wouldn't have hurt anything to have left it in, but I decided to leave that part out. And I'm just going to cook this down on my stove until that 2 quarts of cider, which is about 4 cups, is reduced down to about a half a cup to a third of a cup. So it's going to get really thick and syrupy. Meanwhile, I'm going to prep all of my other ingredients. So here's the syrup after about 45 minutes. And you can see a lot of really small bubbles. It's very syrupy. This is part of where you decide, am I there yet? Am I not there yet? I decided to put it back on the heat for just a little bit longer. Swirling it makes it hit the sides of that pot, which tend to be a little hotter than the bottom. And so it'll help evaporate off additional moisture rather quickly when you're getting close. But lots of fine bubbles here. I figured I was close enough. And any extra liquid that's in there, it's just going to cook off as you make the caramels, so it's not critical that you have an exact measurement here. In goes a stick of butter, so 8 tablespoons of butter, which is a 1/4 pound. And I'm going to stir that into my hot syrup until it's completely melted. And then into this, I'm adding 1 cup of white granulated sugar. Again, stirring that in until everything is completely homogeneous. I'm not worried about sugar crystals here. There are certain candy recipes where you need to worry about sugar crystals on the sides of your pot, causing everything to recrystallize. And then a half a cup of light brown sugar. I was out of brown sugar, and so there's a little bit of brown sugar in here, and then the rest of this is just white sugar and some molasses added in, which is essentially all brown sugar is. And I'm actually thinking I'm just going to stop buying brown sugar altogether and just use white sugar and molasses because it's the same thing, and it'll save me some aggravation and some time. That gets fully stirred in. And then I'm adding a 1/3 of a cup of heavy cream. And this is going to add some lovely richness and creaminess to this mixture. So getting everything completely mixed. And then we're going to turn our heat back on. And I am going to use a candy thermometer here. And I've used digital thermometers. I have about 4 different digital thermometers. I find they're not great for this application for whatever reason. I just don't find that they're well calibrated for temperatures that are in this range. And I never quite get what I want. So I have just a plain old analog thermometer here. And we're going to cook this to the firm ball stage, which is a little over 250. She recommends 252. And this is the part where you want to keep a pretty close eye on it. If you're like me and you're always multitasking in the kitchen, don't turn your back on this for more than about a minute because it can very easily get too hot, boil over, or you can take it way past where you want it unexpectedly, because once that water evaporates off, that sugar temperature is going to heat very quickly. So keep a close eye on it. to this, once I'm getting some nice bubbles and I'm getting in the ballpark of where I want to be, and occasionally giving it a stir, just making sure there aren't any sugar crystals undissolved on the side that are gonna get caramelized and burnt from that extra heat on the side of the pan. I'm adding a pinch of salt here. She calls for Malden flaky salt. I find that to be too coarse. And then a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm adding this at the end just so that any of those nice volatile compounds that are in that don't completely cook off over the course of this getting really hot. That all gets stirred in well. At this point, I'm where I want to be temperature-wise. My heat is off. So the salt and the cinnamon can get added once the heat is off. This is going to stay liquid and pourable for a couple of minutes. And so I would rather just turn my heat off and have it cool off a little bit while I'm getting ready to pour it than I would have it overcook. And then I'm ladling this into 4-ounce jars. It's a little bit messy. I didn't use a typical canning funnel with this just because I thought it would be worse and more sticky. And this made a little over 5 of the 4-ounce containers. And then I had a little bit of extra. I was giving these as Christmas gifts, and so the extra was just for us. But you can see we have reached a very nice gooey caramel consistency as that is cooling in the jars. And this works great to microwave if you want to warm it up to dip apples in it or to pour it over ice cream or other things. So you can just zap it in the microwave, or a small container with just about a half an inch of water and just reheat it until it's nice and soft and liquidy if you want to pour it over something. But there you have it, apple cider caramels, and they are absolutely fantastic. Give this recipe a try, tribe. Thanks for watching, tribe. If you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment, and share. I have new content coming out every week.